Hey everyone, thanks for being with us here in our online community here at Central.Church and for really checking out this weekend thoughts. We're in week 3 of our miracle series, and if you haven't had the opportunity to experience this past weekend's message, then just hit pause and go over and check out the message for this weekend, and then come back and check out this weekend thoughts. There's a specific time that Mark shares with us. It's over in Mark chapter 2, verse 1. We talked about it just a little bit in this weekend's message, but there's specific words. And here I want to read it for you. It says, this is Mark telling about what was going on in Jesus' life. It says, when Jesus returned to Capernaum several days later, the news spread that he was back home. Now, I want to concentrate really in this weekend thoughts on the idea of back home, and I'm really just kind of processing this in my own mind. There's several different thoughts about what Mark really means by this, that Jesus is back home. Some people will go as far as to think, well, does this mean that Jesus actually had a home in Capernaum? That's why Mark says that he's back home. There's other ideas out there, but the one I really want to concentrate on, the one that kind of just resonates with me, and it's probably the most popular, is that Jesus is actually in the home of Peter. And so for Mark to say that in the community, was saying that Jesus is back home. One is evidently Peter on multiple occasions has been inviting Jesus into his home, so much so that people are aware in the community of that they would say, oh, hey, that's the place where Jesus lives. That's the place where Jesus does life. And it's spreading all throughout the community. And from that standpoint, then we have to realize that if you study what's going on here, specifically in this miracle we talked about this weekend, that it says that the community started coming to Peter's house. And Peter's house was so full that you couldn't even get through the door. People were even hanging out outside. That's how many people in the community wanted to experience Jesus and be a part of that. So then we have to look at it from Peter's side. In other words, Peter must have been inviting, must have had a gift of hosting, if you will, and allowing people into his home. Not only that, but as you read through this time in Jesus' life, in the miracle that is performed, there's people of different ideas about him, people with different belief systems that are actually there to experience the teachings of Jesus and to be around Jesus. So Peter is not just saying, well, you're welcome and you're not welcome, or yeah, you can come, but no, really, you just need to stay out. We see that Peter has created a welcoming environment in his home, so much so that people of these different thoughts, different ideas, different religious backgrounds are allowing themselves, or he's allowing them to experience Jesus. And then when some debate comes about, or some different ideas come up in Peter's home about what Jesus is saying to this paralyzed man that we see here in this miracle we talked about this weekend, then Peter doesn't try to correct them, which, if you know much about Peter, you would know that's kind of surprising. But we notice that really the dialogue takes place with Jesus and these different individuals. So everybody's there. They're in the house of Peter, and they're getting to experience Jesus. So that leads me to think, so do people look at my house and or look at my home and say, well, that's a place where Jesus lives? And I know maybe that kind of sounds weird and kind of for us to think through, but really, we have to think about that. Is our home, is the place where we do life? Can people in our community, and first, do they know that we have a relationship with Jesus? And do they know so much so that we have a relationship with Jesus that they're welcomed into our home, and that we've created a safe environment, a safe place in our home where people can come and they can find out about Jesus, and we're not saying, well, you're welcome and you're not welcome, or no, you don't share the same thoughts or same ideas I have about Jesus, so you're not welcome. No, this is a safe place where we can experience Jesus together and learn and grow in a relationship about Jesus and with Jesus. Do we create that kind of environment in our home? later on, we see that actually Mark shares with us the miracle that takes place in Peter's home. So not only are the people that are in the home here, not only are they getting to experience the teachings of Jesus and being around Jesus, but then they also get to experience a miracle that Jesus actually performs in their presence. And then they get to experience the dialogue, because some are questioning this miracle and some are just thinking through different things. So we see that they actually get to hear then Jesus even speak into that even more. And all this in this safe place, and this is all taking place. And then after the miracle is performed, and after all this dialogue takes place, we see that it says that Jesus goes out from the home, and he's walking along the lake shore, and as he's teaching, the crowds start to come because they can't get enough of experiencing his teaching. And as they're listening to Jesus, he comes upon a man by the name of Levi, as we know to be Matthew. Now Matthew was a tax collector. And as Jesus comes up on Matthew, Mark gives us insight into the discussion, into the conversation that takes place between Jesus and Matthew. And Jesus invites Matthew to be his disciple, to be his follower, to leave behind the life that he's living there and to come follow him. And Matthew chooses to do that. And then later on, if you read on there, we see that Matthew actually throws this party, and because of what experiences he is actually having in his life and the changes that are taking place because of Jesus, who he just met, he invites his friends into his home and invites Jesus to experience Jesus, and because he wants his friends to experience this change. Something's going on in his life that I'm sure at this point doesn't truly understand. He hasn't been hasn't been with Jesus long enough, but he knows there's something that I want my friends, people of different backgrounds, people of different beliefs, people of different ideas, to experience Jesus. Right here, I believe we get great insight that as a follower of Christ, whether someone that's been following Jesus for years, or someone that, if you're a new follower of Jesus, we get great insight of what our homes should look like to the community. That's kind of like what I'm kind of thinking through in my minds right now, and my home, and what way our home looks to the community, and the way we do life, and that people feel like it's safe to come and investigate who Jesus is, and they know when they're in our home that they're experiencing Jesus, because this is Jesus' home, and so that's kind of what I'm just kind of processing over in my mind, that I just kind of want to throw out there for us, maybe all together, kind of walk through this coming week. Don't forget that we are in our 3-3-3 plan, if you will. We are, over the next 3 months, are praying for at least 3 people that will come to know the healing power of what it means to have a relationship with God through Jesus Christ, that they'll surrender their lordship, their leadership over to Jesus. And so at 3 p.m. every day, we're praying for at least 3 people for the next 3 months. And if you haven't made the decision yet, if you're not in on this part with us yet through this miracle series, then let me just encourage you to come along and be a part of that journey as we see how God just the miraculous power of healing that he in people's lives. Don't be so legalistic about it that you say, well, I missed a day or here or there. Just when that comes into your mind, and say, okay, then I'm going to start right now, and I'm going to pray for at least those 3 people. Maybe there's more, but at least 3 people. And that God will either use me or someone else or us together as a community to introduce Jesus to them, that they might come to know him as their Lord and Savior. 3, 3, and 3. You guys have a great week. Bye.